even in a different location. Most of the plants I talk about are going to be ones we'll find everywhere out here. I'm wandering around. I'll be over by the weird food tent over there. If you're not sure, pick it, walk over and go, is this one you were talking about? And we'll make sure it is. Find it again tomorrow. You'll know that plant for the rest of your life. You'll see it everywhere that you go. And so every opportunity you have to go on an herb walk with me or any of the other 100 people who do herb walks around Florida, every month try to find an herb walk and learn one more plant. And within 2 years, you'll know about as much as I do, probably. All right, I'm going to chase the shade. We're going right there where those chairs are. What up, stranger? Yeah, you got stuck right in the sun there. All right. You guys are good? Outstanding. So this big beauty is mulberry. This is a white mulberry, and we named a town after this tree, right? There are so many mulberries in Florida. There's different types of mulberries in Florida. All of them are medicinal. I use the white mulberry because I think Chinese medicine is cool too. So this is the one we use in Chinese herbal medicine. And anybody acupuncture, Chinese herb student? Oh wait, yeah, there you are. Okay, so I'll say the cool Chinese names for those couple of people. This is Sangye, is the mulberry leaf. The bark on this is Feng Bai Pi, and they have slightly different uses. And it's important to remember, like, ooh, yummy fruit. And if you all find any fruit on here, it's kind of like a purpley white color. Feel free to eat it. You'll beat the birds and stuff to it. The leaf is used primarily for an acute cold where you're getting a low-grade fever with a cough. Make a tea of this. It is, I'm not going to say it tastes good. The tea's not bad. If anybody wants to nibble it, you can. There's nothing wrong with it, but yeah.
Gonna eat it?
Yeah, I wouldn't take a big piece. It's a little...
Not that big, don't do that. All right, whatever.
You won't hurt anybody with it.
Does it have to be white mulberry, or can it be?
Any mulberry will do. All of them have the same indications. Anybody else need some? Free snacks, come on.
I was going to take a bite, but then I'll pass it on.
No, it's
Take pictures, whatever.
Not even gross, he's
The
dramatic.
trees like to be the star of the show. And so this can be used by itself or combined with other herbs that you know of that are good for colds and flu. There's things like elderflower and so forth that are all commonly used for acute colds and flu. So this can be added into the mix. It's also really easy to grow this. Literally snap off a branch, stick it in the ground, maybe water it a couple of times, and you're good. You'll have fruit within a few years. This, like I think I said this earlier, this was maybe 3 feet high when I planted it.
I was going to say, this has only been here, what, 4 years?
Yeah, the whole garden only 5 years. So the bark of this tree is a really interesting concept, and I say a lot of weird stuff, so I apologize. So we use this for pain that is affected by the weather. And if any of you are medical professionals, you know that that's crazy talk. Weather doesn't cause pain, and yet it does. You talk to anybody over the age of 40 and they're like, oh, there's a storm coming, my knees are going, there goes my back again. And so the reality is that's a very real thing. And the Chinese, we call it wind invasion. I have a TV series in Ecuador, and my whole goal, I got a 12-part TV series, and my whole idea was that we're all the same. And that we just use different, whether you're Ayurvedic or Western or Chinese or the Quechua or the Shuar, they're all using different funny words to describe what they experience when it comes to illness. And so it wasn't until my last episode that she kept saying, oh, this is to make you sweat. And I was like, why do you want to make me sweat? And it was like, nothing wrong with that, but that's good for colds and flu. And then when I don't speak Spanish, I definitely don't speak Quechua or Shuar, and so there was like telephone tag where I'd say it in English, and the producer spoke English and Spanish, and then there was usually a young person in the tribe that they spoke Spanish and Shuar, and then they would translate it to the grandmother, and you never really knew what was being told, and so it was like, they would answer me for 15 minutes, and they'd say, it's good for pain. I was like, that's not what she said. So I finally, in the very last day, the last people we met with, I was like, you have to translate this exactly the same way I say it. I was like, in Chinese medicine, we say that the wind carries disease and it attacks you through your skin and causes pain. And I knew enough words in Spanish that my producer, he did a good job. And you just saw this woman's eyes light up. And she was like, that's what we say. And so it's all the same stuff. And so when we think about the bark, it has to be specifically for weather-related pain. You say, is it good for inflammation? No, it's not. Only weather-related pain. It's not an analgesic. It won't work for an acute arm thing. It won't do a darn thing. 5 years from now, if that arm hurts, then it would work. So it's very specific how we look at the indications for this. And of course, the fruit's yummy. All right, let's go this way.
What tree was this? Mulberry. Okay. Was he saying the bark?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The bark, yeah.
I didn't ask him if it did you want to try it?
Good stuff. We got a whole bunch of things. I'm not going to talk about all of these, but I'm just going to point at them. The tree I'm holding on to is Jamaican dogwood. This is an analgesic. It's a little bit sedative and analgesic. I'm going to make a completely unsubstantiated claim, and as far as I know, I'm true. This is the northernmost Jamaican dogwood in the world. I have no idea. I've not ever found it. It usually grows south of Sarasota. And even then it's rare. You find it in Jamaica more often, in the Caribbean. So even in Florida as a whole, it is native, but it's rare. This little booger over here is neem, which is an Ayurvedic herb that cures everything. Just ask them. But that's not why I stopped over here. I wanted to talk about, y'all know this plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
You all have been pulling this out, throwing it in the trash can. Best medicine that you can find. I prescribe this to my patients more than any other plant around. So this is Biden's alba, Spanish needle, beggar's tick. There's a million little names for it. And no, this is not a political statement to call this Biden's alba. It's Latin. So bidens, bi meaning two, dent as in dental. And so if you look at the little seeds on here, there are two little prong thingies that get in your socks and your pant legs and things like that. Alba. And so the white petals on here, alba, alabaster cliffs of Dover. And if you go back by the pond later, you'll see a yellow flower. That is Biden's midas, as in gold or yellow. And somewhere around here, there's a Biden's rosa that's usually over in the plant nursery that's kind of a reddish tinged one. So I was thrown off a plant group once because I did a video about Biden's alba, and I put it on there, and I was put in Facebook jail for 3 days for making political. And I was like, you idiots. Come on, people. So it's really important to notice. I was fooled by this. My botany's gotten better over the years. Usually when we see a square stem, we think about the mint family. It's not. Based on the flower, it's a composite flower, so this is in the aster family, which if you're ever not sure what a plant is, like, oh, that looks like an aster, you'll probably be right. And when you look at the leaf, this is one leaf. So it's a trifoliate leaf, right? So it's got a toothed edge, and it's one large leaf and two other leaflets. So we can start to recognize this. And let's see if I can find a good one. So the trick with these plants is to find them before they go into flower, but I don't see any. Oh, wait, maybe. This one's iffy. So this is it without its flower. So anybody ever grow lettuce? Yay, hopefully lots of gardeners here. So lettuce, ooh, we plant it, we pick the leaves, it's super yummy, right? And then at some point, this time of year, it starts to go to flower, it bolts. And we go, ooh, now it's yucky, and we throw it in the compost pile. It's totally fine to eat, it's just become more bitter. So when you find Biden's when it's like this, before it goes into flower, it makes better food. Think spinach without the oxalates. So it's good food, cooked, tea, raw, whatever, it's good and good for you. And I'll pass this around if anybody wants to take a snack. But when it goes to flower, it becomes better medicine. And so it becomes more bitter. And it's not like, that one's a little bitter. Let's see if I got it.
I eat it in my yard all the time because I was on an herb walk before.
So
There we go.
I first learned
all I ever do
this
is pull it
plant
up.
as something that we can, if we get a little abrasion whilst we're gardening, if we're get a bug bite, mosquitoes, you can mash it up and you see how it gets kind of juicy? Like that's what you want to do to get the good stuff out of there. Then if I had a bug bite, oh look, there's something I got a couple days ago. I can put it on there, and I always like to tell a story. I was, there's a pharmacy school, LECOM, down in Bradenton, Sarasota, and they asked me to come down there. I think I was doing a drug interaction class for them or something. And I did a fun thing where I was like, oh, I went out in their parking lot, I pulled up some weeds, and like, look, here's some medicine. And they were astounded, like, what? You mean this does stuff? And so pharmacists are really smart. They're PhDs. They memorize more biochemistry than I even know how to, look at, much less do anything with. And so they were like, can you do that anywhere? And I was like, yeah, sure. And like, so they had me schedule another herb walk with them. And I was like, I don't know this Bradenton area very well. Find any park and we'll go. So it was the middle of August. They found some boat ramp mangrove swamp with those mosquitoes that are about 3 inches long with hypodermic needles for noses. Exactly. And so we're walking out there, and boy, they were city meat. These people had not seen daylight in so long, and so this one woman, she's getting these silver dollar welts on her body, and I'm talking about the Spanish needle, and I mash it up. I was like, here, just put it on, and it'll help your bug bite. I get a little gutsy like this sometimes, and I was like, I don't know, it usually works, but I don't know this person. So, blah, 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 I tell all my stories you'll hear in a second. And I was like, well, let's see how it did. And so it had swelled up into this hard, painful red welt. Where she put the Bidens, which was about half of it, totally flat, not swollen, not red, not painful. Within 5 minutes, it had taken down this histamine response of her body and just completely neutralized it. So some of you have been brave and snacked on the good one, so now we're going to give you the medicine. Oh, you already, give it back to the rest of those folks. So it's not that much worse, but you'll notice there's a slight difference in the flavor. So I had learned this bug bites and things like that. So I was doing the teach-in where, they have you come into the elementary school and tell third graders how cool your job is. And somebody was dumb enough to say, hey, let's have an herbalist come in and torture our children. So it was a bunch of third graders, and I went out into their playground, pulled some weeds up and said, look, I brought lunch. They were not laughing. And so this was probably 15 years ago. It was before COVID. And this one kid in the front row is like coughing the whole time. And they're all apologizing. Don't worry, he's not contagious. He's been doing this for a month or so. He's already been through antibiotics. And he was the only one who was brave enough to taste any of the herbs. And the Bidens was the first plant that he ate. And so my 15 minutes of fame are up. I'm walking down the hallway, and the teacher comes running down the hallway and going, Pop, 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 what'd you give to little Johnny? I was like, oh, anaphylactic shock. Anybody can be allergic to anything. And I was like, why? And it was like, he stopped coughing. I was like, oh, I'm sure his meds just kicked in. And 3 weeks later, I get a letter written in third grader saying, thank you so much for curing my cough. And so I didn't know it as a cough herb. I didn't know it as a lung herb. And so don't be friends with herbalists, because we will torture you and learn lots of stuff from you. So everybody who had so much as I gave some Bidens to see what it did. And what I found was it helps cough. That's a very generic statement, because there's weak coughs and strong coughs, acute and chronic, there's smoker's cough, there's yellow, green, white, clear. It'll help those. But when you have a lingering cough after a cold and flu with clear or white phlegm, a teaspoon to a tablespoon chewed up fresh will resolve that cough in 15 minutes or less. One dose. And we've all been there. We've all gotten a head cold or something, went into our lungs, and we were fine. We're back at work, but we're like, and it just bugs the crap out of you forever. I found it works 80% of the time. I've given it to kids as young as 2 years old. I did it as a tea then because they weren't going to chew that up. And I haven't used it on younger kids. I haven't had the opportunity. So this is so helpful for so many reasons. It's also used for chronic Lyme disease. There's research from the University of, I believe it's Alabama, using it for leukemia. So this is a strong antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory with an affinity to the lungs that seems to normalize the immune system. And I continue to still learn more about this plant all the time, because ultimately, anybody who's been on an herb walk is going to learn about this plant, which means y'all are going to go out and experiment with it. There is one look-alike. That one's medicine, but just does different stuff. Yeah.
What was it called again?
Biden's alba is the fancy name, but Spanish needle, beggar stick. weeds. All right. Well, as long as we're here, sorry. Normally I keep us moving, but we don't have much time. So I was supposed to. Ow! That one bit me. Ow! That one bit me too. So. Yeah, I know. There's like 10 plants here. Hey. So I was supposed to cook up calla lilies. So I made all that weird food last night and this morning, and I was like, Mike, who takes care of all the plants in the garden out here, I was like, whatever you do, don't pull up any of this because I'm going to harvest it the day before Herb Day and cook up a big old pot of greens for everybody. And I forgot. So I was like, oh well. So there's lots of amaranth around. This is known as pigweed around here, which is not very nice. It is amaranth, and there are many different types of amaranth. This one has thorns on it. Ow. It's still fine to eat. There are the two general types are a green one and a red one. The red one isn't native here, it's more South American. For anybody who's vegetarian or vegan, this is a phenomenal source of a complete protein, both the leaves and the grains. Callaloo is what it's called in the island of Jamaica. It's like you ever go to a Jamaican restaurant, they got callaloo, this is what you're eating. And I'm not going to hand you the spiky one. Okay, this one's thorn-free. So there's two things. If you've ever had an amaranth cereal, it's the seeds, and this is the flower top here. Let's see if I can get some seeds here. They're little, tiny little black seeds. And I'm going to pass that around if anybody wants a snack. I'll find another spiky-free one. So, this one's not quite perfect to steal the seeds from, so I'm knocking all the... So you see those little black seeds there? So you can grind that up and make a flour out of it. You can make a cereal grain out of it. It's packed full of fat and protein. And that's the two things, if anybody's eating a vegan diet, like fat and protein, you gotta work hard for. And the way you plant this is... All right, let's see what this one feels pretty safe.
Give this light.
Yeah. We got Biden's to fix it if you get stuck, right? So, and I'm just going to say, this is a really great example. So this is a toxic plant. This is amaranth. This is why I say botany will fail. You got to know botany sometimes to learn stuff. So this is Phytolacta americana. This is poke. It's a volunteer here, and it's great medicine, but it is toxic. So it'll put out a dark purple berry at the end of the stem. It is a southern tradition when it's like yay high to pick the greens, 3 water changes of boiling it, and you can actually make a juice. As long as the seeds are the most toxic part, or the old leaves are really toxic, and the roots are used for medicine, or the leaves topically for lumpy lymphatic issues. That's poke. Oops, this is poke, yeah. Let's see.
Everybody
Sure.
says that.
Come on down here. We all got this. You're right.
Oh, sorry.
I feel like one's in yard.
So it's really funny. So for so many of us, we're transplants here. And I was born in Chicago, elementary school in New York City, then moved down to the Bahamas and the Out Islands where I learned a lot of our tropical Florida stuff. And then Germany and a million other places. It's ridiculous. So I will spare you all those stories because I only have a short time to babble on. So one of the great northern herbs from the Northeast and actually around most of the U.S. is chickweed. It's a wonderful green to make pesto out of. It is a wonderful lymphatic to, like if you're just feeling stuck and sluggish, maybe like kind of swollen glands, it's great for that. It's also good for any kind of lumpy things on the skin, like skin tags and stuff like that. We get those as we get older. And it's very nourishing and slightly moistening. The true chickweed, Stellaria media. This is tropical chickweed, completely different genus, vaguely looks like it, but oddly tastes like it. And the true chickweed has kind of a corn flavor to it, and maybe if you're lucky, if you plant it, you'll get 3 weeks of it growing here. Less North Florida, like if you get north of Gainesville, it's all over the place. But feel free to snack on that.
What's the name of this one?
This is tropical chickweed.
It's kind
Thank
of
you.
sticky too.
Yeah, it's
Here,
kind
how
of
about- let
sticky.
me-
And this
I mean,
this is
take
around
one.
all year round.
Just take
It'll
one.
literally
It
stick
tastes
to you. It'll grow over your fence and your chairs and everything else. And I like it. It makes a mean pesto. You can make tea out of it. You can throw it in a stew pot, just
Yummy, right?
pot herbs, I mean, just a pot of greens. Everybody gets some. I got plenty. This is how I weed the yard. I just eat it. And so, and it's so funny, so many of our weeds. That one tastes decent. I don't give you only crappy stuff. All right, let's, here, we're just gonna make a big circle around here.
You're gonna go roast in the sun some more? Okay.
So, this is a Florida native. Oh, sorry, plant. This is spiderwort, and it is our native aloe. It's not no relationship to aloe, but everybody's like, "Ooh, aloe's amazing." There's some problems with aloe. It actually blocks. It's great. It causes this protective surface on your stomach, acid reflux, all that. It also blocks your absorption of nutrients. And so, like, if you take a medication or a multivitamin or something with aloe, you're not getting much benefit. This isn't, and it's super, see how slimy, sticky that is? So we can use this for sunburn, soothing the skin, nourishing the skin, not just a protective barrier. It's great for burns, and you can make a little dye out of the flowers, but it's actually pretty yummy. This is one of my favorite snacks, especially in the summertime. So, and I didn't say anything about energetics. So, like, yay, it's good for the lungs is one way to think about stuff. The other way to think about it is this is cooling and moistening. So who's it good for? The person who's got really dry skin, can't drink enough water, has like a darker skin or redder face. They've got dry heat, and so this nourishes the body. I'll pass it around, everybody. You can eat the leaves, the flowers. It's all super yummy.
You can eat it. It's good.
Yeah.
I'm just showing you how it's
Spiderwort.
How'd you plant it?
I think they volunteered, and I just kind of spread it to where I wanted it. And I like it raw. You can put it in a smoothie. It gets kind of that mucilage that we like to get with some things. All right, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm just pulling the weeds off this other plant. Y'all know this, right? It's a weed in your yard, goes over your fence. Whoops, there's a microphone. This is Comalina. Oops, this is Comalina. And it is literally a weed everywhere. This is a strong antiviral, and so would be appropriate for COVID when I combine it with Biden. And so this one is colder than Biden. This is Comalina. If anybody wants a snack of that, it's very mild flavor, which is rare for good antivirals. Oh, and just because this is ripe. So, yay, papaya. So when Columbus got lost and stumbled in San Salvador in the Bahamas, the native people took pity on his butt because he was eating rats and shoe leather, and he fed them papaya. So papaya is specific for bad meats. Ooh, actually, I have a knife. At least I think I do. And the fruit is yummy.
Don't ever eat things you don't know what they are like. Only if I feed it to you. This is the antiviral. Got it?
And so, yummy flesh inside, and I'll cut this up later, but the seeds, which I'm going to try to scrape out, are some of the best medicine. So we hear about antiparasitics and things like that. So the seeds contain a enzyme called papain that tastes a lot like pepper. So it's a little spicy, so if you grab one of these seeds off of here and you eat it, it's going to be like a little spicy goodness. It's not like cayenne pepper or anything. It's not that hot.
Let me give it to you.
So one of my favorite things to do if you're like, oh, you know, my digestion's not so great, but I really want a steak, dry these, put half and half black pepper and half papaya seeds in your pepper grinder, and put that on any meats. You can let it marinate. It will slowly break down your meats,
If you don't like
and
meat,
so it's
then
easier to digest. It's also considered antiparasitic. And I'm going to show you another thing on here. So you'll see papaya is good for the skin. If I'm lucky, there's some white juice coming out of there. that will blister you. So you'll say papaya is good for warts. You have to get like a little stick and put it right on the wart, and it will slowly dissolve it. It's same as compound W, like whatever, right? The really cool part, and yay, global warming. So guess what? We now have tropical diseases. We had Sarasota, we had a dozen cases of malaria, dengue fever in Tampa, I think last year. I haven't been following it yet this year. So dengue fever, very common tropical disease that we see here in the Americas. And this won't cure dengue fever. Like, go to the hospital, because dengue will kill you. If you get the wrong strain or you're a little wore out already, the way it kills you frequently is it destroys your platelets. So the leaf is used as a tea specifically for dengue fever to preserve your platelets. I've had, for whatever reason, a bunch of my students end up in Central and South America, and I've gotten calls from their hospital bed, or actually Facebook messages, like, Bob, what was that plant? I was like, why don't you remember? So the leaf, fresh or dried, it doesn't matter. The dosage is whatever, as much as you can put in your pie hole. It's specific for dengue fever. This is also a wonderful plant just to grow. It doesn't take up much space, so like line your driveway, whatever. From seed to harvest of fruit, about 8 months. There are both male and female. Now I'm going to be controversial, and bisexual, and you can make them transgender. If you stress the tree, you put a spike through the tree, it will actually go from male to female.
How do you know which is which?
It's really funny. Somewhere around here, I think I have a male.
Obviously, female.
Females have innies and men have outies. So the male doesn't produce fruit, or it's very small fruit. It'll have a little
Like
stem
flowers.
that comes out with a small flower on it, where the female trees will have a flower right at the leaf node.
So it doesn't matter the stage of the growth of the tree. If it's a male, you can just stick a knife and it's going to become a female.
Yeah, usually I put a wooden spike through it. Wooden spike through the trunk.
Oh, like through it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I go all the way through. Doesn't work every time, but like 50% of the time it'll switch. And it's just stressing, because what happens? The tree wants to reproduce, because that's the goal of plants and so forth, right? And so the males can't reproduce. So only the female can get offspring. So it's like, oh my God, I've been attacked by a wild wildebeest or something, and it's going to make it so it can reproduce. Wow. I learned this. If any of you have ever grown papaya before, and you're like, yay, I got this beautiful papaya, and they're just starting green. Another couple of weeks, I'm going to harvest it, and it rains, and you get trunk rot. It falls over, and it never gets right. I had so many trees that happened to. It made me so angry. So it was a guy from Suriname taught me, when your tree is about head height, dig it out of the ground, get your post hole diggers, dig it down to the bottom branches, plant it like 3-4 feet into the ground, put some good dirt in, water it, leaves might fall off, who cares? It'll come back. You'll get, this tree is actually like 3 years old, and I can still pick fruit, which the rest of y'all can't. I lost my first tree I planted here. It was a little over 5 years old. Trunk on it was this, and it was probably 30 feet high, and it produced 4 years of continuous fruit basically. So I never get trunk rot when I bury the tree. You only need one male tree for like an entire city block. So like, you save them because they're pretty. I think they're just a cool tree. And don't sweat it, but dig those suckers into the ground. They'll go a long way. All right, I have no idea what time it is. I will keep us on task. Oh, I think that's time, isn't it? All right. So, I'm doing this again at 3 o'clock. I promise to do different plants if y'all hang out all day. There's also more lectures. I don't know who's next out here, and then all the student lectures are inside in the classroom. I'll slice up this papaya if anybody wants a snack, and put them over on the rocks there for you to chow down on. And feel free to steal a seed. Those seeds, you can plant those. Like, no big deal. Throw it in a pot. It will not do well in a pot. You need to, as quickly as possible, get it into the ground once it's going, because it puts out a pretty chunky taproot on it. And I'll be hanging out by the Weird Food Tent. For those brave souls, I made mealworm fried rice and cricket cookies. So.
He's been telling me all week how he wants to eat worms.
Oh, we got worms for you. But what I will tell you is, although I hope all of you become crazy herbalists and wild foragers, most of you probably won't. But I chose the most common weeds that we see because I want you to change the way you interact with the nature around you. to recognize that those weeds in your yard that drive you nuts are actually there to help you. They can feed you. They're your medicine for 100 diseases. Everything we need is already there. So change the way we interact with our environment and everybody's happier. Thank you all so much and enjoy
Thank
your
you.
day.
Thank you. Yay.